Getting back to our origin of we the people. Tackling current issues both political and legal with common sense. As we the people, we must bring common sense back to make our lives better. Only on Now Media TV.
Whew, welcome back. All right, let's just take a breath, or at least I do. As you can tell, I'm very impassioned about this because there was a time where women were not even allowed to have their own bank accounts or their own credit cards unless their husband signed off on it. Women weren't even allowed, if you opened up a savings account, to withdraw that money without permission of a husband. And you want to say, oh, was that back in the Little House of the Prairie times? No, that was in the 1970s. We women did not have equal rights until the 1970s. That's only a half a century ago, 50 years ago. Let's not let it go. But turning the page. So we're going to talk about the political turbulence that Trump's address caused and the congressional reactions. So Trump's speech was his victory dance. I mean, he was having fun on it too, because at this point he knows he can say whatever. It will not matter what he says or what he accomplishes. The Democrats will never acknowledge it. And that is a sad state, if you think about it, because we really do need, for a proper functioning government, collaboration, bipartisan workings together. But President Donald Trump's recent address, there's a faux pas, has been characterized as the victory dance, showcasing his rhetorical prowess and ability to rally his base. It was pure Donald Trump. A tour de force of bold ideas, grand notions, and vitriol. It had a laser focus on familiar themes from the campaign, securing the border, which, as he jokingly stated, only, Biden was saying you needed an act of Congress, you needed to do this, and it only took a new president. Well, he's right. It only took a new president. We had the lowest number of border crossings now, less than 300. Imposing tariffs, which we're still in that merry-go-round, and ending wokeness and DEI. He drew attention to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky Wednesday, stating regret over last Friday's Oval Office debacle, and that was a debacle. But maybe it was refreshing that the curtains are peeled back, because I personally, when I watched the full amount, not just the viral 10-minute clip, the full time, there was a lot of disrespect. There was a lot of disrespect shown for Zelensky and entitlement. Mr. Trump stated he was going to sign a minerals deal, and return to peace negotiations. But we will see, because Zelensky likes to play around with that. And honestly, at this point, the people of the United States are tired of funding a never-ending war in Ukraine, when we have people in North Carolina, Tennessee, and now California that are homeless, without towns, and are still living in tents. The president had some humdinger lines, as in Democrats kept saying we needed new legislation to secure the border, but it turned out all that we needed was a new president. The speech appeared to catch Democratic lawmakers off guard. Observers noted that while Trump effectively communicated his agenda, Democrats struggled to present a cohesive counter-narrative, highlighting ongoing challenges within the party's strategic approach. Of course, all they can say is oligarch, Nazi, 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 and taking away women's rights, when in fact, as before, they won't even stand up for biological women. The speech appeared to catch them completely in disarray. Democrats they did not applaud anything, not even to the people. I mean, you had some bipartisan worthy movement that occurred and wins, victories for the United States. It's not Trump. It's not us against them. It's we. And they couldn't even applaud that. They would have been smart to join in when Mr. Trump touched on topics that resonate with us, we the people, we the Americans, such as securing the border, having the lowest numbers of crossings ever. And why was it that they couldn't even applaud what would be a bipartisan victory? Part of the reason they didn't is the warped worldview the parties left. Their deep personal hatred of Mr. Trump, which, by the way, before he ran for president in 2015, he was the darling of the Dems. Everybody wanted to be invited to Mar-a-Lago. Everybody wanted to be a part of Donald Trump's circle. I mean, we have great photos of Melania and Trump's wedding with the Clintons and all the top brass from the Democrats, to include the women of the View. The address also served to reinforce Trump's influence within the Republican Party, as his policy proposals received widespread support from GOP members. Now, remember, when he was first elected in 2016, he didn't know really, he was just as surprised as everybody else that he won. But the Republicans, the mainstream Republicans, were very much opposed to what he was doing, which is what gave entry to this progressivism. That was the door that ended. And now we come back, and it is solidly Trump's party. And before you start saying it's all the Republicans' fault, it's not. Because remember, the independents, the moderates, the people who want common sense, who are pleading for common sense, are also supportive of this. This development poses strategic challenges for the Democrats, who must navigate internal disagreements while formulating effective responses to his rhetoric. The speech's impact on public opinion and subsequent policy debates underscores the significance of effective communication in shaping political dynamics. And there was a CNN poll that showed that huge numbers of people are resonating with what he was saying. His approval ratings are increasing. People approve of Doge. And while we're talking about decorum and statesmanship, oh, how I miss the statesmen that we used to have. House censored Representative Al Green as Democrats face fallout from the Trump protest at the State of the Union. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warned fellow Democrats ahead of President Trump's speech, whatever you do, don't create a spectacle. Democrats then created a spectacle, and Republicans are now making them pay a political price. 4 minutes into Trump's address Tuesday, it was clear that Jeffries' guidance wasn't being heeded. Representative Al Green of Texas, Houston, Texas, stood up and shouted no mandate to cut Medicaid while waving his cane at the president. After several warnings, he was then removed from the chamber. Green was censored by the Republican-led House in a 224 to 198 vote Thursday morning, giving Democrats the kind of political black eye their leaders were hoping to avoid. 10 Democrats joined all Republicans in backing the resolution. Green and one other Democrat vote to present. Speaker Mike Johnson had dared Democrats to join Republicans on the censure vote, calling Green's actions shameful and egregious. And he was right. It was shameful. Just as it was shameful for Marjorie Taylor Greene to act out and shout during Biden's last State of the Union. Democrats countered that Republicans had staged their own disruptions during Democratic president speeches and didn't face censure. And maybe she should have. But she didn't go up to there waving a cane at him and continuing. When she was called out, she calmed down. Censure carries no practical weight, but is the highest form of discipline by the House short of expulsion. The House Republicans are now looking into whether they will be stripping Representative Green of his committee assignments. Representative Green, 77 years old, is a longtime antagonist of Trump and a loud advocate for trying to impeach the president. And again, he's threatening to put forth another impeachment doctrine. We're not even 2 months into the presidency. The Democratic lawmaker who represents a Houston area district said he would have done it again. Democrats are caught between calls to fiercely fight Trump at every turn. If you watch The View, which I really don't, I just can't, um, or standing back and hoping Trumpism sinks under its own weight. While some Democrats say Jeffries made the right call in directing caucus members to bite their tongues, although they had their little auction paddles, which looked ridiculous, I am glad to know that they didn't bring noisemakers. Others argue that he lacked a strong strategy. Well, let's put it this way. You embarrassed yourselves, Democratic leaders. You embarrassed yourselves by refusing to stand up and acknowledge and show that you have human emotion when a young boy whose eyes got that big and wide when he was surprised with that Secret Service honorary position and hearing his story, or standing up for Mrs. Lakin and her daughter who were there to honor their murdered daughter. No, you'll bow for George Floyd, but you will not stand up and acknowledge and send heart warmth, regrets, and condolences to a woman whose daughter fought for 13 minutes as she was being brutally raped and murdered. Or how about applauding Officer Ortiz who fought off a cartel attack? You need to reset. You need to figure out who you are. Oh, and by the way, having 22 Democrat leaders doing exactly the same video with the same script that was professionally done at the Democratic National Building or what have you, and trying to say, well, this shit ain't real, or another Texas representative calling out, trying to be all, I don't know, I think she thinks she's a rap star and saying like Trump is a hoe. That's not representative. That is not what it's doing. And by the way, it's turning off the Gen Zs because they don't want to see people acting like that. They want to see leadership and statesmanship. And when you have fellow Democrats, especially Governor Newsom, calling you out, there's a problem. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to talk about the global impacts of Trump's policies and on Europe.